Oh, oh, yikes.
Oh, brother.
Yikes. That looks
And
scary.
here we go again. It's the Jack
And Kathy
Show.
Shit Show.
And there we go.
Yeah, how was
Okay,
that? Did you like
I
that
think
one?
I think if yeah.
Okay.
So we have a brand new podcast coming out, and the reason for this introduction is because
It's for me to apologize about my hair right now.
and me too. Why don't you tell us, as you take a sip of whatever it is, why don't you tell us about our special guest?
Dr. Leigh Ann Charlot.
Doctor?
What movie is that from?
Spies Like Us.
That's right. Dan Aykroyd?
And
No, Chevy Chase.
Dan Aykroyd and Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. Yes.
And who is Dr. Christmas?
God,
or whatever?
I have no idea.
I
have no idea.
Okay,
really
never
don't.
mind. Anyway, we met Dr. Leigh Ann Charlot through our friends Aaron and Ron, who ironically are going to be guests of ours next week.
Is that irony or interestingly?
Okay.
And anyway, Dr. Leigh Ann talks about couples in conflict, which
She
is
does.
apropos of us right now.
She specializes in it. When we heard this is what she does for a living, we're like, girl, you got to be on our podcast. So we solved all the problems of married couples or partnerships.
Of our relationship, at
We
least.
solved them all.
I am wrong. I am wrong.
You're getting it.
Am I getting it?
Yeah, you are.
Yep. That's
good.
what I practiced.
That's good.
Anyway, want to give her background at all? Is there anything you want to add to this since we've rambled on now for 15 minutes as an introduction of our podcast?
I would love to.
Thank you.
So Dr. Leigh Ann Charlot is a licensed clinical social worker and adjunct professor specializing in couple and family therapy. She earned her master's of social work from Loyola, your alma mater,
Mm-hmm.
and has a PhD in couple and family therapy from Adler University in Chicago. Over 27 years of experience. She provides therapy to individuals and couples focusing on relationship issues, intimacy, parenting, and navigating life transition.
That's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. So we had a lovely conversation with her. Well, I'm sure we will have more. But she had some great tips and tools for the old toolbox.
Our topic this week with her this interview with her was conflict and conflict resolution.
Yeah, we might have had some of that last week.
We did. Yeah. What does that have to do? Let's do a whole nother take. This one was way too long and nowhere. So yeah,
okay.
It's not cute. You like this one? You kind of like when we're just rambling like this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to leave it. On that note,
enjoy. I know it's only 9:30 in the morning, but we all might want a little drink because getting the technology set up is such a headache. Is it too early? A Monday at 9:30 in the morning? It's too early. Oh my goodness. Leigh Ann, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Great to see you both.
Yeah, you too. We like throwing you into the shit show right away.
Okay.
To just give you It's no question how we named ourselves.
Yeah. We are apropos of nothing if not our name.
Exactly. And Leigh Ann is somebody that Jack and I have been keeping track of and communicating with for, I don't know, since the holidays, right? We met you at a holiday party, right?
Yeah.
And we have mutual friends, your friends and neighbors of our good friends, and we met you at a holiday party, which was so fun. And when we found out you are a couples therapist, we were like, ding, 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 ding. We got to talk to her. So we're very excited because Jack and I are perpetually trying to figure this shit show out. And And so we feel very honored that you would take the time out of your day to be here. So thank you.
Well, good. I'm glad to do it. Glad to do it.
And how
Would
long?
it be okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Would it be okay if I call you doctor?
Well, you can call me doctor, but you can also just call me Leigh Ann.
All right. I think doctor sounds so cool, though.
Yeah, doctor's fun, but no, you
That's
can call
me.
me Leigh Ann.
Dr. Lee. I'm going to come up with a bunch of names. By the way, I noticed when I was putting all this together that you have three first names.
Yes, thank you. That's been very convenient throughout my life.
Right. Leigh Ann Charlotte, Charlotte Leigh Ann, Charlotte Ann Lee. You can go
Yeah.
any which direction you want to. Okay, so Leigh Ann
Leigh Ann. Yep.
Charlotte. I'll put the whole name in.
Leigh Ann Charlot, actually. Charlot is
Oh, it's
French.
Charlot.
Charlot.
Oh,
I love it.
is that French?
Yes, it is.
Ah, do you speak it? I know your husband does, right? Do you speak it?
I do speak French. It's not pretty, but I speak enough
Oh.
French to have passed my French exams and, make my way through a Paris restaurant or subway. So I think I can survive.
Should we do the podcast in French the next time? Kathy and I will bone up.
Je crois que non. I think not.
Okay. I didn't understand
Exactly.
what you said,
Thank
but
you.
I took that as a negative. All right. So, as Kathy just said, met you at a wonderful party. We're intrigued by your background, and quite frankly, Kathy and I have always wanted to have a guest of your expertise and skills, not to dissect our relationship, rather to
Maybe a
talk
little
about
of that.
to more, as background for everyone listening. When this first came up, the friends that introduced us to you wanted the podcast to be about them with you analyzing people. And I know my gut reaction, as was yours, was I'm not using this as, we're not going to call it couch sessions and have people air their laundry publicly. It's more for us to talk about different topics. And if this works well for you and we get the technical snafus figured out sooner than later, we'd love to have you back to talk about different topics. Today, we're going to talk about conflict and conflict resolution. Interestingly enough, there may be a correlation here that I'll throw out there. Kath, I hope you nod your head. Anxiety can lead to a big part of conflict.
Yes.
And we just had an entire episode about anxiety last week. And
Yes.
so I figured that might be a good place to start. We have a series of questions, obviously. We've all come well prepared. Let's, if you don't mind me just pivoting a little bit on you, let's talk about anxiety and conflict for a second, and then we'll dive into the rest of the details, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that anxiety can really be an accelerant. When there's conflict, it can really sort of add, fuel to what could otherwise be a calm, thoughtful conversation.
Mhm,
So it's typically not helpful to us. When
No
there's
doubt.
anxiety happening. Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to recognize the anxiety in ourselves, right? And that was part of what we talked about last week on our podcast, is like how I've started to notice how anxiety manifests itself in me and how that makes me communicate less effectively and get snarky and snappy and angry, which can make your partner snarky and snappy and angry. And then you have this conflict and it's hard to resolve because it's hard to get to the core of it, right? It's like the I don't know, the riddle we're perpetually trying to solve in relationships, right? And so much can be, the core of it can be the own individual's anxiety. So does that sound like I'm hitting some targets?
Yeah. I mean, we're mammals. So at our core, we are designed to be connected with one another, to be in relationship with one another. And as a part of that, one of the things that we do with our partners is we co-regulate, meaning when our partner is starting to be excited about something, maybe we get excited too. Or if our partner is upset, maybe we can calm them, right? Our our emotional lives are shared with our partners in this kind of co-regulation that takes place. And so if one of you becomes anxious, which is often manifested in like being irritable, right? As you were describing, Kathy, when that happens, that it affects that co-regulation. So it's actually then triggering in our partner to have some of that energy too.
For sure. Jack and I have lived that, haven't we, babe?
Maybe.
Like, well, yesterday.
Just an
I
hour
think we
ago.
did.
5 minutes ago, setting up this podcast. The list goes on. The shit show continues. From your background, we know per the introduction that we shared with everyone, your background is helping couples and families. What is, let's start here. What are some things that you see without, I'm trying not to go to too many stereotypes here, things that happen often? And then what are some strategies for resolving that conflict? Before I finish, clearly we're human beings, like you just said, and we're going to have conflict in ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's only natural that couples would have moments where the gears aren't in sync. What are some ways to identify that? And then what are some resolution methods?
Ways to identify, I'm not sure I caught the last part of that.
And maybe like ways to identify your own internal struggles and how that can present itself as conflict. Or maybe, again, we can go down, I'm sure, a massive rabbit hole of your upbringing and how you fought and argued and all those things. But maybe sum it up first with what are some tools to resolve conflict or practice conflict or whatever you want to do? How do you want to start this conversation?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, to keep from getting where you've got conflict sort of running off the rails, right? Where you can have, sometimes people go to name calling or just sort of negative, I would say, strategies, right? Things that are not helpful to the relationship overall. And I think that can happen for a number of reasons that are within our control to do something about. Things like, and I think of it like good conflict hygiene, right? Like you don't want to start with your partner talking about something that's very important when one of you is hungry, angry, tired, sick,
That reminds me of a baby. Like when a baby is crabby, you rule out the hunger, the wet diaper, the fever, did they have a nap?
Yeah.
So we're still the same.
I mean, kind of. And when when there's conflict, I think for many folks, it takes you back to a sort of a younger, less mature aspect of your development. Right. So you can be walking along being your, very well developed, mature 50 something self. And then something happens and it takes you back to being 6.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I recommend is to look at any approach from your partner, any interaction as a bid for connection. Right. So if Jack says, could you pass the salt? He's trying to connect with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now, there can be a moment when pass the salt could be super irritating. Right. Like when you're like straining the boiling pasta water and, the pet is barking to go out and the phone is ringing, and then somebody's like, pass the salt. You're like,
get your own damn salt.
Exactly.
Oh my God. That sounds so familiar.
But if we can frame it as this person is trying to connect with me, even in that moment where it might feel annoying to me, or it might feel like maybe they don't realize what else I'm already doing or what else I have going on. My partner is trying to connect with me. So when I respond, then I'm not responding to, can you pass the salt? I mean, I may be in the moment, right? I'm saying, yes, I can, or here it is, or whatever. But there's also like a deeper level of response that you're responding to your partner. You're responding to someone you love who's trying to connect with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you get caught up in conflict, I think it can be helpful just to remember that, because those sort of daily annoyances can take our attention away from, yeah, this person's just trying to connect with me.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Definitely.
have to imagine there are times in your practice and your support of people that they're coming in at varying degrees of conflict. Have you ever experienced, or can you describe for us an experience you had where they came in hot and heavy and loaded, loaded for fire and weapons
Loaded for
drawn, all
bear.
those kinds of analogies?
Mhm.
And what are some of the tools you've used just to be able to, because we've all been there, right? And if there's, we can all feel ourselves, just starting to get like this, our hands explode. And
Right.
what do you do in those circumstances? What are some things you've had to encounter, without sharing names specifically or too much detail? But I have to believe there's moments when it's just so elevated that it's out of control. What do you do then?
I'll be honest with you. I have colleagues who will talk about their high conflict couples who come in,
Mhm.
and kind of the challenge of being in a space where there's such elevated energy.
Yeah.
I have to say, in my practice, that doesn't happen a lot.
Mhm.
And I think part of it is, I'm older than most of the people I see. I'm 59, I'm going to be 60 next year. So most of the couples that I see are a little younger than I am, at least a little, sometimes many
Okay.
years younger than I am.
Yeah.
So I kind of come with a certain presence or certain authority for folks. But the bigger thing is, I just acknowledge where they are.
Mm,
Mm.
Somebody who's angry and going off, it's not because they're feeling well understood and seen,
mm.
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Is that
So
hard to
if you
do?
come in and you're loaded for bear and I say, "Wow, Jack, you're pissed today. Tell me about that.
Mm.
What is going on?" Like, I meet
Wow.
your energy and I see you.
Is that something then that is a skill that couples have to practice? Because you can feel attacked on one side, right? Someone just comes
Yeah.
at you and goes, I'm mad, I'm upset, this, that, and the other. Laundry list comes out. Is it really up to the recipient in that moment, aside from going, we've got to go run and see Leigh Ann really quick? Hold that. Because that's
I
not always
mean,
possible.
yeah. And let's say baseline assumption that when the person is coming angry with this laundry list, that they're doing it in a way that is not harmful, right? So
Gotcha.
I'm not putting you down. I'm not insulting you or
Right.
assaulting you in any way. Like, I'm just being angry and coming with my list.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing people can do is hear it.
Yeah.
Usually what we want to do when somebody comes with that
Mm.
list, because it hurts.
Mhm.
It hurts thinking that we would have been the person that would have done this or not done that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Right. So true.
And so our tendency is to want to kind of defend ourselves.
Yeah. You put your fists up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean? Well, you left dishes in the sink 6 days last week, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
kind of
Mhm.
come back with what that person did. And then as I say to couples, that come in, then you're off to the races,
Hmm.
because there's nothing to do but escalate it when that happens,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right?
the attempt to one up each other on I've got one more thing for my list. I'm going to go here, and then I got one more thing for mine. And
Yeah.
it's like, where does that get you?
Mm-hmm.
When you said acknowledging the other person's feelings, emotions, state of being, that
Anger.
acknowledgement to make them feel heard. It's so funny because I'm going to my brain as a mother goes again to actually dealing with my children again, because I always felt when the toddler had the temper tantrum, and you ruled out dirty diaper and hunger and fatigue and whatever, that it was truly because they weren't communicating well and they weren't being understood well. So there's that lack of being seen.
Yes.
And so it just makes so much sense that we still really are those, that our basic human needs, even that we had as a child, is what we're striving to still achieve in our adulthood. And how yeah, just the simple, it doesn't necessarily mean, correct me if I'm wrong, to acknowledge how the other person, to acknowledge and see how they're feeling, doesn't necessarily mean you are accepting it, that it's okay, that it's right.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. It's
Yep.
just that I see this happening in you, so let's talk about that.
Yes, exactly. Acknowledging is just granting it being,
Mm-hmm.
allowing that it exists, that your partner is angry at this moment, right? It doesn't say anything about how you feel about what they're saying in terms of whether it's true or not true, or there's another side to the story. All of that could be talked about, but to just first acknowledge, I see you, I see how angry you are, I see how much this is bothering you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Thank you for coming to me with this,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me more.
Wow.
What is
Wow.
what is the responsibility of the other party then too, right? So because everyone's got a responsibility. It can't just be one person uh, always getting angry, the other person having to be the brave one and getting
Sure.
punched in the face, right?
Right.
What are then, flipping the script a little bit, what are some skills then to use to mitigate conflict, right? And so something's rising. I saw this Instagram post and I wanted to share it with you, but I don't have your Instagram handle.
Oh.
So it was like, I was going, how do I get this to her? And it was a really interesting thing that I'd like us to discuss. If it's okay, I just need to put on my specs. I'm throwing something at you here a little bit.
Okay.
So the concept is really simple. When things get difficult, we tell ourselves stories and make assumptions about our partners, their intentions, their thoughts and desires. Essentially, it says, because I've been with them a long time, I quote unquote know them.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I get stuck in a place of, well, of course they're this way. And so I start to tell a story. So I'm in this example, I'm the agitated person who wants to now take it out on my partner.
Mm-hmm.
So I read that this morning and I went, oh my God, this is so timely for our conversation, right? Because then you're thinking, well, this person's going to respond a certain way because they always act this way. That always comes into play, right? Because I
Right.
know them so well. So how does the agitated person who needs to express themselves do it in an effective way other than just explosion?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's a difference between, talking about what you are concerned about and simply emoting it, right? Blowing up.
Mm.
And really, so I'm saying, yeah, acknowledge someone's anger and encourage them to talk to you about what's bothering them, usually diffuses it. But that's not an invitation to simply sit there and let someone browbeat the heck out of you either,
Yep.
right?
Good point.
Because you see,
Yep.
I think you come back and say, look, I hear you're angry and we can definitely talk about this, but I'm going to need you to come back to me when we're not, I can't do it right now with you yelling at me, right?
Press
We need to have
pause.
it, press pause and take a time out.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Um,
if the person is upset, what I'm hearing you suggest then sounds like it's approach things at a calm moment. Is it getting calm within yourself to talk about something that's kind of bubbling up? Is it trying to process that? I mean, these are controlled conflict stuff we're talking about right now. These are not in the moment, house is on fire, you go do this.
right, right,
Right?
right,
We're
right.
making a massive assumption that something is bothering one person, they need to talk to the other.
Yeah.
So as the bothered person, it's really about maintaining calmness, I'm hearing.
Um, yeah, I think your message can be better heard if you're calm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not doing things like criticizing your partner or showing contempt for them,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which you may recognize as being, two of the four horsemen from the
Sure.
Gottman's
The
work.
Gottman's, yeah.
Gottmans. Yeah.
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 If we can avoid that, I think that really helps.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a
Is
question, Kat? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to go into one of our questions. It seems like a good moment. Is it okay to go to bed angry? Like, what if you hit pause and you're like, "Good night. I got to end this day, man." Is that okay? Because you used to hear in the past, never go to bed angry. I'm like, no, sometimes I'm just pissed and I need time before I can let this go or redirect my own emotions in order to have, pull out the best tools out of my toolbox to deal with this
Yeah.
and to not add fuel to the fire, Because I know that I do that sometimes. I can just get defensive. I'm like, oh yeah, is this coming at me now? I'm ready, you know. And Jack will even notice it in me. He'll like, look at the way you're sitting right now. I'm like, yeah, because I'm ready for a fight, man. You know, I'm ready to get up and get after it.
You ready to go?
That's true. He just said that to me yesterday. He's like, look at the way you're, and he's not wrong. But yeah,
Mhm.
so sometimes I feel I just need to press pause. And sometimes that is going to bed angry. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
I mean, well, I'm curious what you think about that too. Do you think
Mm,
it's okay?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I do.
And
Yeah. I think pause can be really helpful, and sometimes a good night's sleep and then your cup of coffee in the morning can set you up in a better mindset to approach it differently. Because sometimes, I mean, we trigger each other, right? As couples, we're like, oh, here's my little touch point, and you're picking at it, and I'm going to pick at yours. And sometimes it's just best to settle that down and just get in a better headspace so I can communicate and show up as a better self, really, of the better version of myself, which isn't
mhm.
always great. I'm not always great. My father would say otherwise, but he's a little biased. So, yeah, I do think it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I also think it's okay. I think that timeout can be super important.
Hmm.
If you start feeling dysregulated, which means like your heart rate is going up, or you're feeling
Hmm.
that that knot in the pit of your stomach, you're starting to feel dysregulated. Stop, because none of us do our best work when we're in that state.
That's such a good word. I like that word so much. Dysregulated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Or dysregulated or activated. Sometimes we become
Yeah.
activated by something. And being able to have a trust with your partner where you can say, you know what, I need a break, I need a timeout. And your
Hmm.
partner simply accepts that.
Hmm.
They don't try to persuade you, talk you out of it. Look, we just need to go for another 10 minutes. Like nothing. Just you need a timeout. Good.
Hmm.
Timeout.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then take at least 20 minutes or half an hour to just cool off. Think about something else and see if you're ready to come back.
Yeah.
But the magic here, the thing that will really make this work well, is if you also let your partner know when you're coming back.
Yeah.
So you don't
Chuck and I
simply
have
walk
talked
out of the
about that.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You say, okay, look, I'm up to here. I can't take it. I got to take a little break,
Hmm.
but I think I could come back in about an hour. I want to go take a walk, and then I'd like to talk after that. Would that work for
Hmm.
you?
Hmm. Hmm.
You come back in an hour, you're still upset. You say, you know what? I think I'm going to need an hour and a half,
Yeah.
but you communicate.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I
And so I
might want
think
to
part of the
talk to you in the morning.
Yes. I mean, I think part of and I always tell people, don't really try not to have it go over 24 hours,
Hmm.
but also have it not be, I think for some couples, it can be a little bit of a punishment to
For
sort of
sure. Yeah.
like, don't do that. Don't put your partner on punishment where I'm not speaking to you for a day or something like that.
Hmm.
Make it explicit. Look, we're having a conflict. I need a timeout. I need a break. Let's talk tomorrow morning.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
We will be right back.
Doctor's appointments are important, but the time between doctor's appointments is where health really plays out in your life. I'm Molly Dunn, the founder of Your Why Health, a registered health coach and a certified personal trainer. I help women move through their world with confidence, vitality, and metabolic health. The year-long program at Your Y Health is the opposite of a quick fix. We work together so that you can sustainably nourish your life with individualized nutrition, evidence-based movement, deep sleep, and stress-resilient habits. Schedule your free 1-hour personal consultation with me at yourwhitehealth.com.
Hey, it's Jack from the Jack and Kathy Shit Show.
And I'm Kathy. If you've ever wondered how Jack and I stay connected,
It's definitely not my cooking.
correct. It's the Skin Deep. They're the ultimate resource for meaningful connection with products like the And card decks, interactive journals, and conversation starter kits for families, couples, and friends.
And don't forget their YouTube channel full of raw, honest conversations with real people. It's inspiring and a great reminder that we're all just trying to figure it out.
As fans of the Shit Show, commonly known as shitheads, you get something special. Go to theskindeep.com/shitshow and
Easy for
use
you to say.
Shit Show at checkout to get 15% off everything.
That's right, 15% off their incredible products just for you, our fellow shitheads. Whether you're deepening connections with your partner, your friends, or gearing up for that in-law dinner, they've got you covered.
So check out theskindeep.com/shitshow, use code SHITSHOW, and start talking it out. Who knows, you might even enjoy it.
The Skin Deep, making connection less awkward, one question at a time. What are some of the, when you think of all this stuff, do you find that conflict resolution is, I'm kind of looking for who struggles more or less, because we do have a fairly wide range of listeners from people in their 20s all the way up past our ages of 59. Do you see conflict resolution? Do you feel there's a generation that does it better or worse? Or do things change as you age? Do we feel as we get into our 50s that we're more resolute about stuff? Like, do you find in your practice having to tear apart some fibers in certain segments of the population versus others to get to a better place of conflict resolution?
Tricky question, because of course you don't want to generalize.
Right.
I would say if people have been through a lot in life, if they've had a lot of traumatizing situations, sometimes that can be really harder to deal with in a couples counseling kind of situation, because they do have more kind of defenses and stuff to work through. But I also find that if people are younger, sometimes people can be more open to flexibility in roles, flexibility in looking in the ways that we look at the world or the way we look at things. And some of that can come with age, but some of it can just come with personality style too.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody's different. And if you know yourself to be like that you're, I tend to have more rigid thinking or not be as open to different ways of looking at things, then you can take a little responsibility for that too and try to, hear the other person more. But
sure. When you think about all of the things that we're talking about, apologies come to play in this stuff too, right? So someone or both leaning in to say, I'm sorry, what does that role of saying I'm sorry play in a relationship, and how does it work best?
Well, first of all, I think, use it amply.
Yeah.
Just be willing to apologize and not, think that there's some character flaw in you because you have to apologize. Just say you're sorry. Right? Oh,
Yeah.
like I stubbed your toe. I'm so sorry. I said a thing that hurt you. I'm sorry. Because what we're more likely to do is say, well, I didn't mean to, that's not what I thought I was going to do. That wasn't what I wanted to have happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you stubbed the other person's toe. So you just say you're sorry,
Yeah.
you know? But I think it also, I was actually listening to your podcast I think it was from last week. You were talking about an apology where then Kathy felt like she needed to continue to talk about something for a couple minutes. Do you remember that?
I don't.
No, refresh our memory.
Jack was apologizing to you, Kathy, for something, and it sounded like he came to talk to you and say he was sorry about it, and you said, "Yeah, but," and you continue to need to talk to him about it.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
I don't remember this at all. And I listened to the podcast probably 10 times before we produce it.
that's so funny. Well, I think that can happen, right? You apologize to someone and then they say more. Try to be open to that. Try to hear, because sometimes the thing that someone is apologizing for, it might be something simple. I'm sorry I was 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
But sometimes the meaning of the transgression was bigger than the 10 minutes in the life of the person that you were late to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like maybe my feelings were hurt, or I felt like you didn't prioritize me, or you overlooked or forgot that I said it was very important for us to be on time. Something like that. Like something could have more meaning. And I think so. Apologize and just be willing to hear your partner as to like what that felt like or what that meant to them. Because I think if you can do that, it will bring you so much closer.
Are there moments when I don't know how to phrase this correctly, so bear with me stumbling as I think this through. As we stay on the topics of apology, I am also processing like what happened between us that we talked about. Like I'm truly trying to remember and ask a question
Pick
at the
anything,
same time.
honey. Pick anything.
Yeah, right. It's like my brain
Take
is
one
like
off the
going, what did we do? Is there a moment when you can sense that the apology maybe wasn't hitting the mark? And is it right if, like, how am I going to describe this? I say, I'm sorry. Person says, it's okay. Is it up to us to say to the other person, hey, I can sense that, was I effective there in that apology? Because I'm feeling something. Or is that just throwing fuel on the fire? Or is it more our responsibility if someone says, for example, hey, I'm really sorry about that. And we go, okay, it's okay. Even though deep down inside, we're like, F off, it's not okay. The words I'm sorry aren't working right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like what I'm getting at is what is our role as we're either giving it to say to someone, did that work? Or leave them alone. Hey, they said they're fine. Or the flip side, then I'm asking you a lot here. Ready? And then the flip side is if my gut is you're going to say if the apology isn't effective, you kind of have to say something, but then my fear goes, here comes the conflict again. Right. So we started this little ember of I'm sorry's, and next thing you know, you're back to a full blown house fire.
Yeah.
So what are the rules of both parties in those situations? And then I'm going to go back and listen to every podcast to try to find what we're talking
that was.
about.
I'm sorry. I don't remember.
That's okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, in a couple, in a partner relationship, you want to see both parties take responsibility there. So if the person is, one of you feels like, I'm still mad, that apology is not covering it for me.
Yeah. It's not a get out of jail free card. Like you just say, oh, I'm sorry. Yes. And she'll move on. You got to make sure you're heard.
Well,
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I just cut you off. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But it's also, if you give an apology for something we both know you're going to do again tomorrow, you're not going to expect the person to have a soft, loving response to that. Right. So part of apology is that it be sincere and that the behavior change.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Right. If you apologize to me for being late, or if I apologize to you for being late, let's say that, because that could happen. But I continue to do it. Is the apology really meaningful?
Right.
Yeah.
Is it
Right.
holding water?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there could also be something deeper to it, right? So if I'm late, as I was given the example earlier, and that has more meaning for someone, like feeling disrespected or, not seen or valued, then there might need to be more conversation about it, right? So I apologize, and you say, "Hey, Leigh Ann, I appreciate the apology, but I just want you to know I was very hurt by that."
Yeah.
Right. And this is what it meant to me. It reminded me of
Mhm.
all the times that my parents weren't there, or the things that we all have from our background, from our childhood, our
Sure.
upbringing, right, that make us
Yeah.
feel vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think it's wrong, Jack. I don't think it's wrong to go back and say, I apologize, but something still feels off here.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it could be a variety of factors. It's just,
Right.
it's try to get to the core so that
Right.
we can we can get past things. I mean, I know we're not talking about really deep topics right now, like infidelity or drug abuse or things like that. Maybe that's time for another episode. This is really more about those moments. At least my intention for the podcast today was those kind of moments that are normal in life, the ebbs and
Yeah.
flows, right? Whether it's in a personal relationship like mine and Kathy, or work, or children or parents, you're going to have those natural ebbs and flows. Related to that, then, how do you balance? Because everyone's going to be a little bit different, right? My relationships with Kathy's family is different than mine with my daughter, than with Kathy, than with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to have to be malleable, as my gut. How do we, both as the receivers and deliverers of conflict messages, disagree without creating, it's the word I'm looking for, without creating a big amount of disrespect? Like, what are the tools or techniques you'd recommend? The one I picked up already is cross a line, hand up, we
Time
need
out.
some time. I
Yeah.
get that one. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other things that can be done that at least create an environment of disagreement, but in a conciliatory way?
Yeah. Well, obviously, we want to always treat our partners and people we're close to with kindness and respect. And you can disagree and have kindness and respect there. Staying on the topic, I think, is super helpful. So if Kathy brings a concern, then Jack stays with it until that concern is resolved. And then tomorrow, Jack says, there's something I need to talk to you about. And then Jack addresses what's bothering him. Because when it's two people talking and one concern is met with a concern from the other person, that's where it escalates.
Right.
I really think that's the key.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like those situations become a race to the bottom. Now,
Yep.
neither people or persons, regardless of relationship status,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
feels a part of that other person's life. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think race to the bottom is a good way to describe it. I think it
Yeah.
because it starts to feel like it's beyond either party's control.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Kat,
And then
I couldn't tell if you were about to say something. Sorry. Kat.
Oh, me?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know if you
Well,
were about
I
to say
was
something.
just, it's all very, of course, when I listen to all of this, I'm thinking of Jack and I and how uh, we have definitely had moments between us where he will say, I have an issue with this, or I'm having a problem with this, or this is bothering me. And I'll go, well, really? Oh yeah, this is bothering me,
Mhm.
and that's been brought to my attention, certainly, because that's a trigger. It's almost like, in my mind, oh, he opened the gate, so now I'm going to walk back and forth too, you
Right.
know and this is the time to talk about it, because it's bringing this stuff up. So I need to personally work on pressing pause and being like, okay, he needs to talk about this, and I need to hold that for another time. um, and yeah, so I recognize that, because it's all about ultimately getting back to what you said before, is is being able to acknowledge and have the other acknowledge the other person's feelings and really make them feel heard.
Yeah.
And that is so huge. Leigh Ann, do you have couples that are, I imagine most of the couples that are coming to see you are trying to resolve something, right? Do you also see couples that are like, hey, we don't have any real big things on the table right now, but we're just trying to be our best version of our individual selves and ourselves as a couple. So we're just going to go like keep greasing the wheels, keep, adding, as I like to say, adding tools to our toolbox in this relationship. Do you also find you have a few clients that come to you when there aren't big conflicts?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I love working with couples that are in that kind of situation. I see a lot of younger couples who are sort of figuring out, what their next step is. Are we going to move in? Are we going to have children together? Are we going to be married? Those earlier in life questions. And then folks who come and say, we think things are going pretty well, but we have this major change happening in our life, and we want to make sure that we navigate, like we're becoming empty nesters, or even people who are divorcing and want to co-parent with
Mhm.
partners. How do we navigate this? How do we,
Mhm.
do this in a way that's positive for our kids, even though we've had conflict we couldn't resolve.
Yeah.
So I love working with people that approach it from that point of view. It's a great
Yeah.
use of therapy. Um, most couples who research shows, most
Mhm.
couples wait 7 years before getting
Mm.
couples therapy
Mhm.
Wow.
after the trouble starts.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
And
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, that's a long time to wait. It's a long,
That
Yeah.
is, that is. And I know because, Jack and I were both, as you know, previously married, and
Mhm.
I didn't always have the skill set to recognize that I was struggling with something. Like I married somebody who didn't communicate, the first time around. And so I just kept putting kept trying to get the lid on this, container of emotions and issues and everything until it just exploded. And
Mhm.
so I feel very, very lucky that I found a partner in Jack that really is clearly, because he and I have this podcast, he's very willing to communicate. He's very emotionally intelligent, and it's such a breath of fresh air for me. And I can get how I just let life go on without addressing those things. But to be sure, I also had in my first marriage, I had a partner when I brought up therapy once or twice would say, I don't need therapy.
Yeah.
Come on. So you really have to have two willing partners that want to make this work. If one of them is being dragged into the room for this so they can check a box, it's tough to get anywhere, right?
Yes, definitely. And I think what you're describing sounds like somebody who would probably sort of shut down or kind of stonewall, when there's conflict. And that doesn't work well for
Mm-mm,
relationships.
mm-mm.
It really
No.
doesn't. And it, sometimes we're conflict avoidant,
Mm-hmm,
right? We don't want to be in conflict. Yeah.
mm-hmm,
Especially if you've been exposed to conflict in the past that just still leaves you with some feelings of upset when you think about it.
mm-hmm.
You're conflict avoidant.
Right,
Um,
right.
and if we can, that's something that is really resolvable in couples therapy,
Mm-hmm.
because when you then can develop a pattern of just talking about things as they arise,
Yeah.
where we stop avoiding the conflict in the moment, they tend not to grow. They tend not to take on that sort of life of their own.
Oh gosh, yeah.
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 Yeah, that
Yeah.
overwhelmingness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to that
Amazing.
end, um, are there two things you can share with us as we start to bring this conflict discussion to a close? A, are there resources that you suggest for other folks about how to manage conflict. So if there are books, posts to follow, you mentioned the Gottmans earlier. Kathy and I are big fans of theirs as well. And how can people get a hold of you? Do you do any online work too, or is it all in person?
I am strictly telehealth at this point.
Okay. So people could reach out to you if
Yeah.
they're looking for some support or conflict management, for example.
Yes.
Can you share with everyone quickly how either A, resources, and B, how to reach you? Whichever order you want to go in.
Sure. Well, if you try to think resources, I wish I'd given that a little bit more thought before we started talking today. And I may be able to send you something that you could add
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd
in
be
your
great.
show notes.
I can. Yep.
Yeah. And then if somebody wants to reach me, it's my name. So Leigh Ann at relationshipreality312.com.
Perfect.
Love it. Love
And,
Perfect.
love to help folks, or certainly refer them to someone who can help them if that's
Wonderful.
what we need to do.
We
Man, you are
will
awesome.
certainly spread the word.
You are
Kath?
you have a very calming energy, and that's appreciated, and I'm sure it makes you very good at the work you do. So thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you
Yeah.
both, and I love having this conversation today.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, this
We will
was
do it again.
fun.
We always sign off every episode with peace. So on the count of 3, you ready, Leigh Ann? 1,
Peace.
2, 3, peace.
Peace.
You just listened to another episode of the Jack and Kathy Shit Show. All recording, engineering, and production provided by us. Connect with the podcast on Instagram at Jack and Kathy Shit Show for more insight into our shit show of a life. This episode is proudly brought to you by Pint Productions.
Point.